it's Dean Soto again, and yes, I'm still working on the raised garden bed. It's day 2, and we're gonna be talking about some interesting things today, to include why the heck I'm making this raised garden bed or how I'm doing this every day. And it corresponds with what we're gonna be talking about. We're gonna talk about the 3 steps, the 3 biggest steps that you need to do in order to make processes for your company. Now, the big thing is, why do I need a process? What do you mean by processes? Things like that, right? So what I'm talking about are standard operating procedures, processes within a standard operating procedure or an SOP. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds really boring. really boring. Well, it is. It is in a sense because it's paperwork. You are documenting what you're doing right now, right? But the exciting thing about it, the thing that makes it the most addicting, is once it is done, that task, that process, that thing that you put into that document never has to be done by you ever again. Okay, you can hand it off to an employee, you can hand it off to anyone that you want. It's one of the reasons why, as I'm doing this, I have 25 plus employees doing the majority of the work within my business. And the only way to do that, literally the only way to do that, is through processes, procedures, standard operating procedures, or SOPs. Not fun, I know, but it is the way it is. All right, so step number one. Step number 1 is acceptance. Acceptance that what you're doing right now actually does have a process. And I talked about this in the last video, but a lot of people tend to think that whatever I have in my head, whatever I'm doing, whether it's design, whether it's sending proposals, whether it's onboarding new customers, whatever it is, that I've developed these skills over the last few years, and I'm the only one that can do this, right? That I'm the only one, or somebody who I've hired who has an immense amount of skills and I'm paying them a lot of money, those are the only ones that can do this task. It can't be put into a step-by-step documented process. Well, I hate to break it to you, just like the computers of old, which, history lesson, computers weren't always what we see as a machine. A computer was actually a person in history. In history, there were people who sat in a room computing literally on pieces of paper. They would get a ticket, an order to compute a large number or a large calculation that needed to be calculated and computed. They were literally, no joke, in the room computing, figuring out how to do this computation for a customer, right? And these people had a profession, and the profession was called a computer. People were literally computers in the past, okay? Now for them, they're thinking there's nothing, which is true at the time, there is nothing and nobody that I cannot just make this into a process of how to do this computation, because it is a skill. It's a skill that is developed and had to go through long classes and college courses and everything like that to be able to do that at that particular point in time. But guess what? Every year, the way that we live in our technological age, it's becoming more and more possible to take what you're doing right now as a skill, just like the computers of old, those people, and turn it into an actual process, whether it's done through technology or it's done as a step-by-step procedure, because now people can use a technological thing, something that they can actually use and type on or whatever it is. They can use that now to be able to do what you once did. So, as an example, I have a customer who she believed that there was nobody that could do the proposals the way that she was doing them. Okay, what she would do is she did these websites, and they always had 3 different tiers. One was just like a bare bones website that they were doing for somebody. So the next one were these little add-ons that would happen on this site, and the last one was this custom SEO driven site, right? Complete with all the bells and whistles. Well, when she's talking with the customer online, one-on-one, she is taking all of this, she's doing the strategy and then taking down the notes of what they actually need, okay? And in her mind, she's thinking, well, this is the custom way, and now I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put it into the proposal and yada, yada, yada. Well, what she ended up doing, I'm looking at her process and going, well, like what you're doing, and you always want to be nice about it, but what you're doing is actually, the strategy of what your customer needs and the selling what your customer needs, yes, that's definitely something you need to do. But the actual writing of the proposal, really, all you need in this particular circumstance is almost like an order up. Like, have you ever been to those sandwich shops where they say, just check the box of what you want? Do you want ham with cheese and mayonnaise, lettuce, and so on and so forth? You take that slip of paper and you hand it to the person making it. Well, all she had to do is at the end of the call, we developed a little Excel spreadsheet for her, and she literally just X'd what this particular customer wanted, gave it to her at the time, the $9.50 virtual systems architect, did a video on how to make this process. They documented everything, and now that all she does is do that little X, and they're able to actually write the proposal and send it to the customer. And so she's out of that whole thing, hours and hours and hours saved. So big thing is acceptance. All right, so step 2 is once you come to acceptance in step 1 is now starting to investigate what is your actual process. What are you actually doing that is the difference between what's skilled and what can actually be given to somebody else. So it's just as in my proposal, the skill was actually the strategy, right? The skill was the strategy. My dog's barking at something for what? Anyway, the skill was actually the strategy, and then the proposal part really didn't need to be skilled because she was able to very quickly X and show what needed to be done. Okay, right? So it's really defining what is part of your process. So literally going through each of your process and documenting what you're doing. Okay, and sometimes it's better to just outline it at first if you want to do it that way. We use video to then just to show through the entire process and then have somebody document off the video. But if you're doing it yourself, which takes a long time, it sucks, but it's worth it. You're building an asset in general. So even if you're spending 8 hours doing something that you never have to do again, you're still doing work on an asset, so that's pretty cool. Rather than the 15-minute or 5-minute video or 20-minute video, right? So, for example, an example is my friend Paul, who he runs, I think right now 11 halal guys and a couple of different ice cream shops and things like that over in Southern California. I think all of the halal guys are part of his thing in Southern California. So pretty big operation going on. Well, what he has his virtual systems architect do is the hiring process. So she puts out ads on Craigslist. Now for him, he's like, well, I perfectly tailor these ads because there's copyright, there's copywriting involved. There's trying to lure, I don't want to say lure, but trying to persuade people to work at these halal guy shops, right? So he does it on Craigslist and other places. And he's like, there's no way someone could do it. But once he came to the realization, yeah, there is a way that they could, he started developing the process for it. He started seeing that, yes, I do really truly have a process for this thing, right? So then what he would do is he took a video of showing what exactly he's doing. He had his virtual systems architect from Freedom in 5 Minutes doing the actual process, boom, 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 documenting the whole thing. But if you take a video and you start taking screenshots and documenting yourself, the whole entire process is the exact same thing. But what he did was documented the entire process so that at the very end, it was done, he handed it off, and he was off to the races hiring. He never had to go and post these job postings ever again. And that works for him, it can work for his general managers, it can work for anybody he wants to give that to and do it for, it works. And he does that for lead generation as well on LinkedIn. He does that for a lot of his other stuff. Now that he realizes that I actually am doing a process, right? I actually have a process there. Now he's able to look at it and make it into and see what the actual process is. All right, and so step number 3 is just like these steps. You need to make your operating procedures, your standard operating procedures, your processes as step by step as possible. I like to say that it's like imagining grandma is looking over your shoulder and she has no clue what you're doing, and you are teaching grandma how to do whatever it is that you're doing. So first, grandma, what we're gonna do is we're gonna press the power button on the computer, and it's gonna come up. We're gonna go in and put our name and password into these spaces. Click here, and then we're gonna do our name and password. Then we're going to click the Google Chrome icon, which is found right here. Boom. And then we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna do this, and so on and so forth. Just boom, 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 boom. Very, very, very detailed and very step by step. Okay. One of the best ways you can do this is by actually recording your screen. And so you can use something like Loom, L-O-O-M, or Jing, J-I-N-G, and actually record your screen and then take screenshots of that and start typing out boom, 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 off of each screenshot that you do. So record the screen and then take little snippets, little snapshots of what you just recorded, put it into the document and make that a step, make that a step, make that a step, okay, on each one of those things so that it is foolproof. You can even point, use arrows to point to what you're doing, right? Boom, boom, boom. We had one customer, her name is Tanisha, over in Hawaii. She had I think it was maybe 5 coaches who each coach had, I want to say, anywhere between 60 to 120 customers. And so what she would do is she would record her screen, step by step of what she wanted her coaches to do, what she wanted all of her staff to do when it came to selling, what they used to call spins and creating these presentations and all this other stuff. She would record, she would just spend as much time as was needed to record everything that she was doing. And after a while, she would literally have people who had never had any experience doing it whatsoever, creating sales presentations, they were a financial services company, so she would have them doing different calculations in this financial calculator that they have, and all this other stuff that would normally it would take hours and hours and hours to do, or she would be paying one of the coaches to do, which could be relatively expensive. And then the coaches themselves, they didn't have to spend all this time doing a bunch of other stuff that they was just kind of busy work, like taking notes from meetings and so on. Those were all done and documented on how an administrator, how a virtual systems architect overseas, who costs way less than an employee here, how they're able to start taking notes. And so they went from one of their coaches went from having, I want to say, about 60 people to 120 people that they're supporting. And then at the same time, they went from 40 to 60 hours a week down to 20 hours a week of work. and delivered an insane amount of value to his coaching clients because he wasn't having to do all the administrative work in the background. He wasn't having to do all these calculations and stuff like that in the background that prior to step one, if they were still stuck in step one, they would have thought, there's no way that this can be done. It's a financial calculator. It's people's money. There's no way that this can be done by somebody else, right? But they got past step one, they got through step two, and then finally they did step by step in step three and were able to outsource a ton. So that's how you can quickly start documenting what you're doing so that you can start scaling. It's really the only way that you can grow your business to be a bigger business. So you're not getting constantly dragged into the day-to-day. Just the way it is. You look at Amazon, you look at McDonald's, you look at just every big company out there, they have documented standard operating procedures so that their managers and their managers' managers can train or can give those procedures to people and know exactly what needs to be done. So this is Dean Soto with Freedom in 5 Minutes. I hope that helped. Got some more coming, more videos coming, more helpful things coming in the near future. But go check out freedomin5minutes.com if you want the fastest way to create documented standard operating procedures. Not only that, a lot of our consulting clients see a massive amount of growth and massive amount of time put back into their schedule from doing some of these things that we do. So go check out freedomin5minutes.com and I'll check you out in the next video.